Coming up next, it's Baby Looney Tunes on Cartoon Network.
Coming up next, it's Batman, the Brave and the Bold on Cartoon Network.
Coming up next is Ben 10.
Coming up next, it's Ben 10 on Cartoon Network.
Ben 10 Alien Force is coming up next.
Coming up next, it's Ben 10 Alien Force on Cartoon Network. Up next, it's Ben 10 Ultimate Alien on Cartoon Network. Coming up next, it's Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends on Cartoon Network. Coming up next, it's Foster's movie House of Blues on Cartoon Network. Coming up next, it's Foster's movie Destination Imagination on Cartoon Network. Up next, the Powerpuff Girls continues on Cartoon Network.
Chopsocky Chooks is coming up next. Chowder is coming up next.
Coming up next, it's Chowder on Cartoon Network.
Total Drama Island is coming up next.
Coming up next, it's Total Drama Island on Cartoon Network. Up next, it's Total Drama Action on Cartoon Network. Up next, it's an all-new Totally Spies on Cartoon Network.
Coming up next, it's Courage the Cowardly Dog on Cartoon Network.
Coming up next, it's Courage the Cowardly Dog on Cartoon Network. Coming up next, it's Bakugan Battle Brawlers on Cartoon Network. Coming up next, it's Ed, Edd and Eddy on Cartoon Network.
The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack is coming up next.
Coming up next, it's The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack on Cartoon Network. Up next, it's Garfield on Cartoon Network.
George of the Jungle is coming up next.